All right, fantastic. Welcome, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us. We're going to be talking about eliminating legacy waste and maximizing efficiency in the workspaces. Am I right about that, Doug?
That is exactly right, 100%.
Fantastic. Well, we got a whole bunch of folks coming here. We love interagency briefings here at GovBrief. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We got a lot of folks from the VA. So we really appreciate you guys. I know that you guys love the mission of the VA, love everybody's mission, but the VA is one that we gravitate towards a little bit to help them out. Right, Brian? We like to do that.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I am going to welcome Doug Lowe. Now I know he's a brother from another mother that had the same last name, Doug.
What is it?
So we're not related. But you're the president and founder of the Facilities Programming and Consulting, right? And
Correct.
And you mentioned you're based in Texas, San Antonio, you said?
San Antonio.
Fantastic. And Brian, you're in the same place at the moment, I know.
I am in San Antonio, Texas, too, enjoying the beautiful weather. Yeah,
I love it. And you're the director, and you handle what region?
I handle the whole country.
Okay, well, there you go.
Director of operations for the facility, for the company.
Fantastic. Well, welcome aboard. We'll get this is a unique topic for me because when we started talking a little while ago about this and the challenges, I'd never heard of the term facility programming, and we'll get a dose from you on what that really means. Okay, Doug?
Okay.
We'll do that in a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
Programming is one of those words that means different things in different disciplines.
That's a fact.
When it comes down to space and facilities, it simply means figuring out what you need before you try to figure out what you're going to do.
Love that. And I can't wait to hear about it because this is new to me. We do a lot of technology things here at GovBrief, but this is the first time we talked about this part of it. Some of it really is really cool. So anyway, real quick for everybody, it's going to include vendor product information and services information coming from a GSA vendor. It's not affiliated or endorsed by GSA or any other agency. It's provided to you, the audience, for informational purposes only, and it's not a commitment to buy from anybody, including facility programming and consulting. It is being recorded. We will be distributing this out to everybody afterwards, so that if in case you missed something, you want to go back or you want to just submit it to the awards for education and comedic input. And so I'm going to go to a couple things. So do me a favor, put into here this will make the best briefing ever. If pop that into the chat. I have a couple that are really, really interesting. We have somebody. This is John from FAA. To properly adjust the footprint to adjust job position workload. Some 1/3 of works need to leave, so workers need to leave, and others need to hire more, right? So there's a big shift happening, just what we were talking to Laria, right? So we're going to be talking about that, right? Right, Brian?
Absolutely. That's what we do.
And let's see who this is. This is Evelyn said, tips to maximize office, lab, and warehouse spaces with minimal to no renovation expenses, minimizing function/operation impacts. Spot on with what you're going to talk about, right?
That's exactly it. Yes.
That's right. Let's see who else had now this is from James from the VA. If he learns something new, it'll be the best briefing ever if he learns anything.
To all learn something.
And also we have Scotty from VA says handouts are made available. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to make handouts available to be the best briefing ever for Scotty as well. All right. And let's see what else we got here. I love this one, Stephanie. Political discourse is avoided and DOGE didn't attend. No, political discourse is avoided and then you drop that. All right. Fantastic, Stephanie. I love it. And James we're planning an office move. Well, that's a great time to maximize, right? Efficiency.
Now's the time to do it.
And let's see. A clear understanding of the goals of the new administration are defined. Ellen, I'm not sure that we're that tapped in. I think we can at least do some things that'll help you though, right? Right, guys?
We can give you a roadmap. Yes.
I love it. Got some useful tips from my facility, says George. Eric says it provides a better understanding of efficiency requirements, how to achieve efficient space utilization. Spot on, right, guys?
That's it.
All right. And let's see if there's, and let me see if I can find one more here. Anybody else want to throw in the chat? I might make sure we get you as well. It answers the unknowns. Tony, that's a great question from VA. Answers the unknowns. We'll try. And if we don't answer the unknown you're looking for, pop open, we'll chat.
And we can start to identify what the unknown actually is.
That's right. We can start actually doing that. All right. So please address the following is the next thing. If you'd like to do that, let's see who else. We have to address the cross-agency use of facilities will work. Will work. Okay. Maybe we'll unmute you. Make sure we get you, Tony. Make sure you get that. Help to connect to WRDA's requirement. Dude, do you know what that means? WRDA?
No,
all right. I'm gonna unmute Tom. Tom Shen, you there? Can you unmute for a sec? I want to make sure we get what you want.
Yes, I'm here. Actually, that's the new law passed that talks about reporting on occupancy and space reduction.
All right.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're going to grab that and we'll make sure we get that into the to the handouts as well. If you happen to have a link to that, drop it in there. We'll make sure everybody gets it. Does that sound good? Good, Tom? I think this dovetails into that, right, fellas?
Yeah.
Yep. We'll do that. All right. So let me grab the handouts for everybody. Just 1 second and get this to work the way that it's supposed to. Come on, Zoom. You could do it for me. Hang on a second. What is going on with my Zoomage? Where is it? Where are you? There we are. All right, I got it. It's coming together, guys. I promise. You gotta love live events, don't you?
Absolutely.
All right, there's the session docs. All right, so if everybody could do me a favor and click on that and make sure that you get to looking something like this when you get there. And let me know if you can't get these because we'll get them forwarded to you some other way because sometimes different agencies block different things, as we know. So everybody got that? Awesome. We'll make sure we're there. And if you have any, I love it. Thank you very much for that. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. We'll open up the mics just like we did with Tom and Luria. We love that. We love the interaction, don't we, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you have any questions, if you have something you don't want everybody and their mother to see, send it to Brian, that email right there. And we'll make sure you get a copy of that. Pop that in the chat for us, Brian, your email so that they can get in touch with you anytime they want to. And we do love the feedback. We know that you can already do the feedback because I already saw the thumbs up, so thank you. We always love those. Your session docs includes a couple of executive orders that are driving this. We're going to grab what Tom Shen was just talking about and make sure that gets in the session documents. And then just let us know what you'd like to accomplish here today. We would love to know about that from your perspective of how you want to how you want things to roll. I'm gonna pop open your presentation now. Doug. So this is the one that's in the handouts for you. Take us through the agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We'll talk a little bit about you guys in a minute, but give us an idea of what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. Well, following Dave and his energy is going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to start with one of the big advantages of a Zoom call is you get to pretend what the room is like. And for the next 30 or 40 minutes, I want everybody just to imagine that we are in some sort of a very informal, maybe a living room setting. Maybe we're sitting outside in a courtyard under an oak tree. But it's someplace where we're just talking about these issues. And I know there are a lot of words on the agenda, but if you click or look down at the 5th bullet, and it says, can help align your space with your mission. if you remember anything, remember those words, because that's what we're talking about today. And we're going to show some case studies, 3 different case studies for agencies that had vastly different issues. And then we're going to walk you through this kind of what I call the so what. What does this mean for me? How do I turn this information into something that I can use? And what can I do this afternoon after I lead this call? So that's the agenda.
I love it. And everybody buckled up, ready to rock, because I think we're going to learn. I know I'm going to learn something new. I heard about one of the case studies that I really want to hear about. So tell us a little bit about facility programming, how you got started, Doug.
I started this company 33 years ago after I was downsized from a large firm.
Wow.
Anyway, it's actually my wife's fault. I was sending resumes out to other large firms, and we live in San Antonio, and we have a beautiful Riverwalk. And she said, I don't want to move. You're going to start your own business. And that's why facility programming got started. And what we provide for our clients is evidence-based answers so that you can make good decisions and be proactive instead of reactive. And that provides the strategic roadmap for growth for our client companies and agencies.
Okay. And
you've done a few of these, right?
Just a few. We've worked around the country, around the world. Pretty big numbers in terms of the value of the projects we touch. And our work, as we use this photograph because it is a representation of how we like to do our work with you. It's interactive and participatory.
How many of you love to have somebody come in and do this type of thing? Thumbs up if you like the interactivity, to pull everybody into the room to say, how does this affect you and your ability to deliver on the mission? Everybody? Yes. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. And we will be talking about a couple of federal case studies today, because you guys have been working in the federal space for quite some time, right?
Yes, we do. And weather service, ocean service, and marine sanctuaries are just 3 case studies we talked about this morning. And I'm going to foreshadow a bit and tell you that each one had vastly different issues to deal with. So I don't know what each one of y'all's issues are, but this process and the kind of work that we do is varied, and we can probably help you, and have probably been to a similar situation before.
And some of those situations can be very simple, like, hey, we have space, or we don't have enough space.
Yeah, just like the comments that Dave, you got coming in early.
Yeah.
Not enough desks, too many desks. What about interagency work? I like the one where a lot of facilities were designed in the last century for missions that are completely different now and are no longer functional. No collaboration space, people coming back to the office, downsizing, or someone talked about 30% going away. It's out of alignment.
Got it. Well, let's find out what they say. How about this? Phil, do us a favor. Let us know what is the most impactful thing, or maybe you have multiples. You can pick as many as you want. Empty desks, not enough desks. How about, you're going to talk about one of yours that is just not last century. It's last century, right? And then if you have a different one, you want to make comments, put that in the answer in the bottom. That's just the way that Zoom works. We can't do both of those at the same time, but let us know where you guys are. Lot of folks, right? So not as many empty desks as I thought. We'll see how that works out. So as we're doing that, ultimately, as we're going to do this, you're going to start talking about how you can align your space with your mission. Obviously, that it's so simple to say, but it's not quite so simple to accomplish. All right, so we're going to give you guys another 10 seconds to do this poll. Got empty desks? Not enough. Facility design in the last century? I mean, everybody probably checked that one, but that's okay. Not functional to your mission. I really like that one. And well, number one, let's take a guess. Now do you guys be able to see this? I don't know if you guys can see what the results are from your side. We see them as they're coming in. We're going to give you 3, 2, 1. Any wallflowers want to participate? Last minute wallflowers, hop on, join the party. All right, here we go. You ready, guys?
Go ahead.
All right, here it is. The number one issue that everybody that's dealing with is workers coming back to the office.
We're seeing that more and more everywhere. Yes.
And that turns into a problem of the second issue, which is not enough desks, apparently. Is that awesome? That's great. So, and when we're starting to align our space,
Well,
what are we doing?
think about space not just as desks and chairs and walls and doors, but think about space as where you work. Spend hours each day. It's all about the kind of the reaction and the communication and the workflow and the enjoyment that people get out of work. It's an important psychological resource. And so often buildings are planned at a particular slice in time, a particular date, and the mission moves on. And that disalignment creates an opportunity for friction, for a lack of efficiency, for poor utilization, for it's difficult for me to get things done. I can be much more efficient working from home. Why do I have to come to the office? So just a number of issues. So if you think about your facilities as tools to get the work done, it's much more effective than thinking about how many chairs do I have. I love the red words down there. Don't let what you have keep you from where you want to go.
I love that too. And I think I like what you just brought up. How many of you view your office space as a tool or just there? You know, I mean, I didn't really think about that until you said it. So, but you think of your facilities as a tool. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Just there, right, Alan? That's what I was thinking. I never thought of it as really as a tool, but I think you're right. And when you start to think of it that way, then you can start to think of how you can make the changes, right? Right, Doug? All right. So if we're going to do this, what do we do?
Well, the label that I like to put on this is called a strategic facility assessment. One way to picture it is a master plan inside buildings. Oftentimes, a conventional master plan will be done to tell someone where they need to put their next building on a campus or base. But this is inside the buildings for the most part. It talks about workflow and efficiency, getting things done, collaboration, doing more with less. I like to say that sharing is a good thing. One of the comments early on was about, interagency collaboration. And it also gives you an opportunity to set some very basic standards so that you can move forward with a kit of parts so that when your world changes again, you can just turn to that kit of parts and say, well, this is how we're going to deal with it. We need more of these and less of these, and let's move forward. It's not a long, drawn-out process.
And I like what you just said, because change is going to happen over and over. Didn't just start yesterday.
One of the problems that we all have is we come to a problem or we come to a situation with our own frame of reference. And when it comes to space and using space in the workplace, we see it as we walk through the door coming from our car or transit. These graphics help us break that paradigm. These are exploded views of floor plan, two-story building, where you're sort of looking in as a giant, looking inside the building, and you can begin to see from a different perspective how the space is used. You can color code it by work function, by department. You can identify the size of individual spaces, what's good for collaboration, what's good for individual space, all sorts of things. If you use quick little computer-driven tools like this to help you reimagine your situation, that sort of changes that paradigm. Here's another viewpoint, or another view. This is, again, an exploded view of a building, floor plans this time in 2D rather than 3D. And you can begin with a highlighter or a magic marker to say, well, this is screwed up. Why is it like this? And what can I do quickly to change it? And when you're looking at it from this sort of giant's perspective, you can begin to see the problem is not as insurmountable as you might have thought when you're looking at it from eye level.
So real quick, I'm going to go back to slide 8 because Catherine calls it out on slide 8. What's going on with the ceiling in that?
Well, this is an open plan. Obviously, it's built for team and collaboration, and the ceiling creates interest, and it shows what's happening sort of above the work plan.
So you broke that out and to show them what's happening above that. So you were making that a point.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Catherine. Good. Somebody's actually looking at the slides. Just saying. All right. So as we're looking at this, we're going to go into different case studies. I'm going to say Narciso says every square footage should be value added to the process, mission, and organization. This is how I've always valued Workspace.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey,
Every square footage is very valuable to everyone.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. And I don't even know. You're obviously Narcisso's in it tight. So let's talk about this case study. NWS. NWS is who?
National Weather Service. So
There you go.
everybody understands that. And I want to talk about them just for a little bit because they were facing some of the same issues that everybody else was facing, except they did this prior to all the other challenges that we're facing today. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, the National Weather Service underwent a massive modernization process. They constructed over 150 locations almost simultaneously. And so fast forward about 25 years, what's happened to them is that a lot of the mechanical systems, some of the structural systems have begun to fail. They reached the end of their useful life. So what National Weather Service did is they reached out to us and asked us to take a look at their facilities, not just about what the condition they're in, but also take a look at them. They've been using them for 25 years. So Spring basically understood that they have assets out in the field. They didn't know what condition they were in, if they've been modified over the last 25 years. What has happened to these facilities since they put them in place and let everybody use them? And you can see the photograph. That's actually one of the facilities that's there. They built these almost exact same duplicates in 150 different locations across the country. So they knew over the course of time that these buildings would be modified. They just didn't know how they were being modified and how they were being used. So Silver Spring took the initiative to say, okay, let's take a look at what we currently have out in the field, what changes have been made, what works, what doesn't work, and can those modifications that have been out in the field actually help any of the others? Can we apply that everywhere? And so what they did is we took a look at every single one of their facilities. We not only looked at how they're using the facilities, we talked to everybody that worked in the facilities to get an understanding of how they're using the building, how the building works for them, what their challenges were, what was happening in them that they can make better. And some locations actually took the initiative and did modify that. They did modify some and said some were good, some were bad. But what we did is we looked at it and said, okay, these will work. We came back, put together a strategic plan for how they could utilize these facilities a little bit better, made some modifications because as you can see in the picture, the buildings are pretty rigid. They're solid brick walls on all four walls.
As a definition of rigid is...
The interesting thing about this and what most people don't realize, these are the folks that are telling you what's going on in the weather. They can't look out of a window and see what's going on in the weather outside their building. So it's how can we actually effectively utilize these buildings much better than what they have now?
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes I'm not saying about these particular weather people, but sometimes the weather people should be able to look out the window.
If I want the person who's going to be telling me what the weather is to be able to look out the window and say, yes, the weather is that over here. So one of the other things about this and what they really did is back in the 80s, the technology was so much different than what it is now. And so they built these massive data centers inside each of these facilities. Well, looking at it, we kind of identified that they don't need that much space anymore. And we were able to capture a lot of that existing space inside the four walls. If we started to move the malls a little bit over, enlarge certain areas, reduce some areas that they thought that they would need in the past, that we can actually accommodate better functionality and more efficiency for the buildings as they stand. So it actually was garnering back existing space to make it usable and more effective and more efficient for the people that are there. We're trying to help them that were inside these walls to do their jobs a lot better and more efficiently.
How many of you guys out there have like rigid buildings that are not easily retrofittable? Thumbs up if that's you.
And the interesting thing about that is that taking a look at what you have in the four walls may not necessarily be locked into those spaces. Sometimes we can garner back space that you don't know you actually have.
Yeah.
We can just reuse it a little bit differently. And what is interesting is that kind of led into the second piece. When we started working with the National Weather Service, they broke the project into multiple locations because, quite honestly, it was 150 different sites. So we actually had to go to each of them. It took a little time to get there. So while we were doing that project, the NOS said, wait a minute, we have some facilities too we want you to take a look at. If you're helping the Weather Service, can you help us as well? And so we did. We started to take a look at their facilities, and theirs was a lot different than what the Weather Service had. They actually are doing research in buildings that we found from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s.
The 30s.
The 30s.
The 30s. Let that sink in for a minute. What has changed since 1930, 100 years ago? Oh my, what hasn't changed?
We actually looked at facilities that were being used in the Manhattan Project that they were trying to do research in today. So believe it or not, they were trying to do today's research in yesterday's buildings. It's not, they're doing the best that they can. So what we did is we went to each of the existing sites and took a look at them to say, hey, how can we use this a little bit better? We gave them a strategy to say some of these facilities need to be adapted for a different use. Some of them can be modernized. You can get more efficiency and more effectiveness. The instrumentations that you were using in the past are not what you're using today. So how can we modernize and streamline those laboratory facilities? Took a look at the footprints and how it can be more effective and more useful for what they're trying to do. Basically give them the research space of today for today, not going back into the past and using what they had and trying to function around a building that doesn't work for them. So we were able to give them a strategy that they could take forward to the Hill to get funding to actually implement some of these changes across the board. The Weather Service did the same thing when we did the case study for number one. What we did is we put together a strategy for them and gave them a roadmap that they actually took to the Hill, got funding for, and that's what they have been implementing over the last couple of years. So the Weather NOS did the same thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was saying, so think about this. I mean, obviously, congressional funding still an issue, especially when it comes to research, right? And anybody that's here that's operating research facilities. Also, just funding, period, right? Because of the executive orders and DOGE, right? It's a different paradigm that we have to look at this through our lenses to be able to save what we're doing and make sure that we're doing it as effectively and efficiently as possible. And what I think as we get into this, we're going to give you some takeaways, right? Just stick around. We're talking about what you've done, right? We're going to give them the takeaways in a few minutes, right, Brian? But this still applies, right? Everybody, thumbs up if this applies to you, especially that bottom bullet that says congressional funding approval that we have to justify and rationalize for upstream that this really does make sense to continue what we're doing. Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what we did. We tried to give everybody an actual strategy that they could use going forward and help you get funding and made it to where it was very easy to read, easy to comprehend and understand what was happening in the facilities. And some of the changes that they can make that are very effective and minimal impacts to the building, minimal impacts to the cost, and make it completely more inhabitable than what you currently have now.
And isn't it true that sometimes you're shifting around the people in different locations in the structure so that things operate too, right?
So when you take a look at the building, it's not just looking at how you're currently using it. Take a step back. Doug likes to refer to it as peeling back the roof and saying, okay, what do we have within these four walls that can be adaptively reused for something else? Or maybe you're using a piece of the building that is not very effective or efficient for that function. And maybe that function could just shift to a different location within the facility. And it would be more effective and be accommodating for what you're trying to do with your mission. NOS, we were able to identify several of their facilities that they could actually lower the usage, means shifting from trying to do laboratory functions to do administrative spaces, and identified where administrative spaces were actually better used for laboratory functions. And they could shift walls around and be more effective. And you never know where the best savings are going to come from. So you have to take a look at the facility as a whole, not just the pieces and parts.
I love it. I just posted the session docs just in case you came in late. That way you have access to these. Includes the presentation as well as some of the handouts. We're going to get a couple other ones for you. Now, this one is the one that you and I talked about the other day, and we're going to explain the immersive experience because that has multiple meanings in this, because this whole facility, where is this facility?
Well, this particular one is the Humpback Whale Marine Sanctuary in Hawaii.
Which is?
And when we selected our case studies for this presentation this morning, or this discussion, we wanted to pick sort of a breadth of experience so that you could perhaps understand the government facilities come in a wide variety of flavors and colors. And it's easy to do a facility strategy, even if it's not just about office desks and chairs. And for the National Marine Sanctuaries, their work product, if you will, or their mission is offshore, either in the ocean or in our lakes and rivers around the country.
And when you say offshore and in our oceans, you're talking about the facility being underwater. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an immersive experience right there. That's what I was saying.
30 miles from land, yes.
So the problem that marine sanctuaries had was, how do they use their facilities to share this experience with the visiting public, their customers, and also do other things in their mission like enforcement and research and emergency response. But when essentially the problem is they're onshore and their work is offshore. Right. So how would they bring that to the public and to the others that they serve? Next one.
Yep.
So that was the crux of their facilities problem, is how do you deal with something that you can't touch, that you can't reach out and show people. And so that's why we use the term immersive experience. So if you think about the three case studies, weather service was about aging buildings that were designed for a different era. Ocean service was about, again, aging facilities, but it was all focused around research and, doing more with what they could do and how to repurpose and bring things into the 21st century. And marine sanctuaries was about, it's not just about space, it's about the image or the experience. And so in all three of these, as Brian mentioned, it was possible to justify spending, to be more efficient, to be more effective, and to do more with less.
And that sounds a little bit like the DOGE word.
Well, it's all about how we can get departmental efficiencies into the existing facilities if we possibly.
Okay, we talked a lot about us. I'd like to spend the rest of our time talking about what I call the so what moment. What does this mean for you? Why? What can you take away? And so if you will allow me, I'm going to talk about the very simplified process. What we do is not rocket science, but it is process related. And it's about prioritizing your challenges and giving you a roadmap, identifying the simple solutions. This is things that can actually be achieved and they're actionable, to be funding ready or maybe funding driven or supportive, and then to give you those tools. So let's jump into it, if you will. It's a 4-step process that I like to use. And it starts with, what do you have? Go on to the next slide, please.
Yep. And so what's in your way, and what do you have? Pop that in here.
We got whole. Okay, I forgot the whole.
Let me just do this real quick. What's in your way, and where are you at now, kind of thing. So you can pop this in, so we can actually use this right now to get you to where you want to go. So, and we're talking about what's in your. We were talking about starting about where you are, and we will figure out what's in your way, and we're going to tie this up, nice little bow for you as we go. So while you're filling that out, and fill out whatever it is, could be budget, could be not knowing where to start, right, Doug?
Yep.
It could be anything.
How do I eat the elephant? How do I get started?
Because it is an elephant. Maybe it's because it's so big, or maybe you don't have the authority. Maybe you don't know what the process is to be able to kind of work it up the food chain to get the funding, all that kind of stuff. Pop that in there for us. Go ahead and talk about how do we start this. So we start with what do we got, right?
Yep. Step A, what do you have? And this is easy to just do an assessment, a mental assessment or a physical assessment. What's your mission? What's your workforce?
Didn't know that? Oh, there you go. Sorry. I didn't launch the poll, Doug. Go ahead. Somebody better get their act together over here. Thank you very much, Peyton, and Catherine especially. So sorry. So define the problem. Where do we start? That's where we start. Sorry.
Yeah. And what are your challenges as you've been all kind of chiming in on the call? So that's the first circle. It's the assessment of what are the cards I had been dealt.
And then we go down, that we're going down the right-hand side, right?
How do you use it? What are the relationships, the adjacencies, the workflows? What work is remote? What resources do you need? How do outside agencies impact what you do and your work? So if that's the first one is what do you have? The second one is what do you need? This is sort of a balance so far. Or how do you use it? The third one is what do you need? This is where you begin to get into how does your mission impact your facilities? And what might those ideal facilities be? How much? Where? In what relationship? What are the adjacencies? What about future changes? How do you future-proof whatever you do so that you haven't locked yourself into a facility that can't be changed? And then don't forget about the 30% of the cost of any building that is behind the walls and above the ceilings. What sort of infrastructure support do you need from IT or security or dealing with deferred maintenance or mechanical, electrical, plumbing, those sorts of things?
See, because there's some limitations that you just can't get around, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And then we're going to get to where we start doing something about it, right?
All right. And that's the strategic plan. This is where it all comes together. And you can begin to prioritize, bits and pieces of projects. If you need help, you can reach out for, subject matter experts. What do you do first? What are the phases that you should deal with? And then what should you do? How do you align your proposed projects with budget and with your mission? So it's a 4-circle or a 4-step process. If you copy that image and kind of keep it somewhere close by, it'll help you get going.
And this is what I love, because most of the time, it's a lot of folks don't know where to start or they don't know how to start. So, and I love what you do with this, because you literally talk about putting stuff, starting with what?
Well, this is a back of a napkin, or maybe it's a napkin, I don't know. But I'm a pretty simple guy, and I like to deal with big picture issues first. So when you go back to your office after this call, or when you have a few moments and you want to think about this topic again, I want you to imagine that you were standing up a brand new mission. Not the one you've already got, but your boss comes into your office and says, this is our challenge. We've got something brand new. I want you to tell me what kind of facilities we need to support that mission. And that's the way to get started. And you whip out a napkin or a couple of them, and you just write down, what spaces would I need for this new mission? And how would they function? And how might they change in the future? And what do I need to do? And then you use that same mentality and you bring it back to your existing world. You snap back to reality. It's not a new mission. It's your current life and your current mission and your current facilities and your current workforce and your current interagency issues and the people coming back from remote work. And you begin to use that A, B, C, D analysis still on the back of a napkin that says, well, these are the cards I've been dealt, and these are my opportunities, and this is how I can move forward. And after you've gone through a couple of napkins, you might have a clear sense of your world and how you can actually get to the finish line or get to where you want to go. And that may be bringing in somebody else. It may just be going from napkins to paper. Who do you use and how do you get there?
I love it. All right. So I'm gonna pop open a couple of things so that we can address these. So who put in, because I see it's NRC, who put in building space and parking space? Raise your hand for just a second. We're going to talk about the challenge with that. There we go. All right. Okay. Fantastic. Can you unmute for a second for us? And first things first, you have got to say your name for me.
Okay.
And I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Basavaraju. Pani.
Fantastic. If I try that, I'm going to mess it up. Appreciate you, man. So can you tell us what your current situation is? You have building space and parking space. What does that mean?
Okay. A lot of people are coming back to work from telework. Mm-hmm. And we have only parking space for, say, 700 slots. And there may be 2,500 people coming.
Well, that is a problem.
That's a challenge.
That's a challenge.
Okay.
And then you also have building space issues too, right?
Right. Because we gave up some space and during this COVID time and telework issues.
Yeah. What do you recommend for that, Doug or Brian?
Well, I don't have an answer for the 1,400 missing parking spaces, but I will do the other. If you're bringing more people back in and squeezing them into the same square footage, that is an opportunity to let people understand that we're all in this together. Mm. You don't prescribe a solution and impose it on them. You use that collaborative workshop environment that we started out at one of the early slides, and you let people appreciate that we're all facing this problem and how can they use their space more effectively, and let people make some suggestions about the square footage. Every square foot is important, as someone mentioned earlier, and doing more with less can sometimes be a team sport, as opposed to, well, we've got to squeeze more people in and I'm going to complain about it. Be part of the solution.
That's great advice, isn't it? So what do you think of that?
Yes, I think that's a very good suggestion.
And my only other recommendation is motorcycles or bicycles. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So, no, that is not real, ladies and gentlemen. That's mine. Not real. That is not real advice. All right. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to pop your hand back down. And if you need to unmute for a second, you certainly can. And Ellen has one here. The biggest challenge. Let's talk about this. Because this is always, Ellen, you there? You can unmute for a sec. She says, the biggest challenge at the VA is not knowing how to plan for the future. That is a huge problem for everybody, isn't it? So Ellen, tell us a little bit about what you're up against right now. You there?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I had to unmute, of course. So our biggest issue here at the VA is that we don't know what's coming next week. I work in human resources and information systems, so I'm like kind of a data person, but we don't know what to plan for. We don't know how what next week is going to bring.
What would you say to that, Doug or Brian?
That, if nothing else, is the flag that we are trying to wave today. Don't plan space as if it were permanent, because you'll wind up in the same sort of the legacy situations that we've been talking about, in a couple of the case studies. Plan your space as if it were going to change. So the space becomes the backdrop or the tool that the employees use. And when they need to use it differently, the space can adapt.
Does that make sense, Ellen?
It does. I think any recommendations for space that is, overcrowded and where people don't really have any personal space.
No, and space is going to change in the future. Quite honestly, when you start thinking about personal space, it's maybe the personal space is what you bring with you. It's not what you have on your desk. Unfortunately, a lot of people are facing the same situations you are. And exactly as Doug said, planning for flexible open space because you know that it's going to change over time. Maybe it becomes a space, not so much necessarily a desk space. Maybe it becomes an area or a location or lockers are the wrong terminology, but a space where you can put your things in, but you become to work in different locations, not necessarily at a desk. Maybe it's a hotel space. Maybe it's a smaller, more intimate space where you can have private meetings. But when you actually sit down to work, it's in an open office environment. That's a big shift from what a lot of people have been comfortable with, which is mostly office spaces and smaller workstations. So how do you open up the space that you have to accommodate what you're going to need in the future? It's taking a look at your space, not necessarily what you have now and how you're going to shove people in, but take the walls away and see exactly what you have and how you can accommodate in the future the space that the folks that are going to be coming in the future.
Okay, thank you.
What'd you think of that? That's not bad, Alan. Little tidbits, right?
Little long-winded. Sorry, not a short answer.
That's all right. We'll take it. All right. So thank you very much, Ellen. And for Narciso, hold on a second. Let me make sure. Where are you, Narciso? Narciso, are you there? Can you unmute for a sec? Because I love what you put in here. You there, Narciso?
Yes. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. Am I saying that right? Your name?
You actually are. Very surprised, but thankful for that.
You should be real impressed because I usually butcher them. So you get the 1 in 100 today. All right. So you said lots of times it's an organizational culture.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. So what are you up against right now? And what's happening in your culture?
Well, I'm generally saying from previous experiences, all the agencies that I've worked for in the past, it's culture. It's once we're settled, we're good. We're not reviewing our processes. Every year, processes change. And so and lots of times we're working in silos. We don't know what's going on in another floor, another department. We're just concerned of what's happening here where we're at, right? Day-to-day work, busy work. But yes, every organization that I have worked for, whether it's federal or public, space has always been an issue. And there's always been a pushback. Well, this is the way I've always done it. I've been here and all that good stuff. So yeah, lots of times, most of the time it is the culture, let's take a step back and really look at it. And is it really working for us?
You're exactly right. That's what we face a lot of times. We'll go into institutions And we ask them, once we take a step back and look at the processes and how they're interacting with the different departments and how they're interacting with their own people in their own departments. And you ask, why are you doing it this way? And the common answer is, we've always done it this way. Well, why not take a look at the processes and who you interact with on a daily basis? That actually could start to lead to how you arrange your offices.
It has to, right?
You're exactly right. And some of the other things that you face, it's my space. You can't have it, or you can't air. Where this is my department space, and that's it. There's nobody else that's going to work in here. When in actuality, it's everybody's space. It's how do you break down the walls and make everybody accommodated as opposed to just one group.
That is awesome. Narciso, you're spot on. And that affects the culture. It infects the culture too, doesn't it?
It does.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. And one tip I do want to put out there that that's helped me win hearts and minds. If I may put it, is I've done a spaghetti map, of all the back and forth plenty times a day or a week, and then the key stakeholders are shocked, like, oh my goodness, you're right. So that little soft skill, hard skill, does help out a lot.
My man, that is awesome.
Those are the best things, the best planning tools ever are the spaghetti maps. We've done that multiple times with leaders of departments, and when they realize what they actually have to go through, it changes really quickly.
I could not agree more about that. And we do want to answer some more questions. If you want to stick around, we could do that. But we know that we're getting close, so I want to make sure that you guys can pop in on what you would like to do next. And I'll talk a little bit more about this. You can schedule an on-site review, whiteboards and napkins, by the way, both. Or you can just, what does it cost to just chat with you? What are you guys one-on-one, Brian and Doug? I know it's very expensive. It's my favorite four-letter word.
I like doing this a lot.
Yeah.
We will come to you and we will have one of those workshop napkin sessions. That is at low cost. That might be a $25,000 house. And we can help you help yourself kind of get started. This is what you ought to do. This is what the data are telling you. And these are what your options are.
Yep.
Now,
And if they just want to pick up the phone and talk to you for a couple minutes, that's my favorite four-letter word right there, isn't it?
Yeah. If you just want to have a conversation about what your problems are, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's free. Let's just talk about what some of your issues that you're facing.
Yep. And I mentioned earlier, you're not obligated to buy from anybody here, but if you guys are GSA schedule holders, you've been doing this for a long time in the federal space, you got just like Narciso, man, that was dropping wisdom bombs from Narciso. Love that. And just want to make sure you can do that. It's in the handouts. You can do that. And there's folks that have to jump. Ellen, good to see you. She's got to jump to another meeting. Want to get you guys out of here. If you have to jump, you'll get a copy of the presentation, a link to the video, and next steps for the meeting, as well as the handouts, all the handouts that you got so far. So, any last minute things you guys want us to ask questions? Raise your hand or pop it in the Q&A or pop it in the chat. I'm paying attention to that as well. For those of you who need to jump, thank you for joining us. Here's Doug's information as well as Brian's information. Both of them at facilityprogramming.com. That's where you can find all the information for that. Thumbs up if you guys got some value out of that. And love the facilitation. Awesome. Fantastic. So let us know if you would like anything else from these folks. We do want to get you guys engaged, so we'll get a follow-up email out there. Who else has got something? I do love the facilitation too. Listen to this one. Narciso, you said it. Love the facilitation tips and best practices. Good stuff. You can get started today, and then when you need some additional help to help pull those folks through, Narciso, right? Sometimes you need a little oomph to get people to take that spaghetti and turn it into something that works, right?
Yes.
So, anything else that you guys? Any other questions before we jump out of here?
I just want to leave everybody and say thank you. This is fun for us, and we enjoy doing this. So we'll be happy to talk.
Thank you very much. We really do appreciate everybody joining us today.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great stuff. We'll get you guys out of here because I know now that you're face-to-face in meetings, got to go from one place to another. Maybe they shouldn't be so far away, huh, Brian?
Absolutely. They should be next to each other. Quick conversation.
Maybe everybody should work a little closer within their groups. Those stovepipes that we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
All right, great stuff. Again, thank you very much, gentlemen, for everything. And everybody that's asking for something and for follow-up, we'll make sure you get that to you guys. And any last-minute things anybody needs before we jump?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to end this poll in just a couple seconds, and we'll get you guys out of here. Sound good?
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Fantastic. I'll stop this. Great job, guys. Learned a lot.